Well, good morning, church. And this morning I wanted to focus on one of the discussion questions from Pastor Bob's message. For those of you who don't know, we actually have discussion questions every week with our sermon. We've been doing that for a while now. So for those of you who do church at home, if you're looking at the sermon notes, they're the last thing that are listed when you go to our website and click that sermon notes under the Church at Home tab. But for those of you who come to one of our on-campus, in-person services, you could find it in the same place. And if you're at home, maybe just go through it right after you finish watching or later during the day. For those of you who come on campus for church, you could always go back home and talk through that with your family or some friends later. But the hope behind that is that we would wrestle with some of the things talked about from God's Word on Sunday mornings, that we'd continue to get more in depth with the things talked about. And so one of those first questions, this last week, Pastor Bob talked about Hebrews 12 and this cloud of witnesses that we have cheering us on. And this idea that we have so many people in our lives that encourage us and lift us up and continue to help push us towards the Lord. And as I began to think about, well, who are some of those people in my life? Obviously, my family are the biggest ones. That I'm fortunate and blessed that my immediate family are absolutely, they've always pushed me towards the Lord since I can remember. I grew up in church. My wife obviously is a huge person that pushes me towards the Lord now. But as I think back to the church I grew up in and just all the different people, obviously I had pastors that were incredible and still reach out to me and are an encouragement to me. I had youth leaders, but my friends, just the people, the family friends that I went to church alongside of, they easily had the same, if not more, impact on my life and my development as a follower of Jesus Christ. And so be thinking about what people has God put in your life to encourage you in that way. Last month we had a lot of different events on Friday nights, and hopefully you got to enjoy coming to at least some of those. But we had a worship night outside behind West Campus, and at that worship night we had people write down just ways God's been moving in their lives, recognizing that it's easy to focus on the negative and craziness that's been going on this year, but that even through all of that, God's been at work. He hasn't just hit pause and waited for everything to end. He's been working on us even now. And so we wrote a lot of those down, and we loved getting to read those after the fact. And so we've actually turned a lot of them into slides we're going to be putting up on our social media pages on Tuesdays and Thursdays this month. Just things to be thankful for. The fact that we can have hope in the year of 2020. And one of the most common things that people talked about was just how impactful church family has been in encouraging them. And so be praying, God, who have you put in my life that I can be praying for, that I can be purposely reaching out to? It may look a little different this year just because of how things are, but who has God put in your life, and how can you encourage them? How can you push them towards the Lord? And maybe how can you just hold each other accountable, come alongside each other and help in this crazy race that we're running? And so I hope you've been enjoying our Finish Strong series on Sunday mornings. I know there's a lot of important lessons in there just about how we can cling to our faith regardless of what the race currently looks like for us. And as Pastor Bob's sermon pointed out, sometimes we're limping through. We're not always running super strong. A lot of times we're pretty much being drug along by somebody or by God himself. And so hopefully we can just recognize the people God's placed in our lives that encourage us on a daily basis and what a blessing they can be. We'll see you again Thursday.